I think I didn't cast the... Oh, no, I did cast the Aware. It is. You just suck at it. Let's see what I can do over here to you. Dragon time. There's a song going on in the background. Yeah.
Happy to oblige.
You are, but unfortunately, people are very upset at the front. I hope Takeo doesn't die. He's gonna be stunned for 5 minutes. Takeo is not stunned anymore. That is good news.
What can I do you for?
You did the good. You did the good. Okay, let's do the Shield of the Faithful.
No, that dog won't hunt.
And we're gonna wait. Let's see if I can kill you first. And let's do one of these, I suppose. It's always good. And I zoom out because I'm used to meta magic. He really needs to get meta magic. But he's never gonna get meta magic. I like that. Attack my backline. You should be doing that from the beginning because that's proper strategy. But don't do it, please. That Drake is now one of theirs. That Drake is gonna die. I'm gonna do so much penetration. Maybe not, actually. Screw that Drake. Taking damage at the back. Okay, lovely news. Let's do this.
Still got it.
Drake is now mine. And I'm attacking the Spore-infested Librarian over here. And you're taking damage over time, which shouldn't be a problem. There we go. No, it is a problem. It is a bad problem. My god, these monks are just ridiculous. They're so fast. And now I think we're gonna be good to kill you good with this. Oh, he's dead. Who killed him? Maya, of course. She just kills everybody. She's amazing. Oh boy, pretty good. And that's also a thing I don't understand why it makes that sound or why anything. I don't understand why anything. We have another one, of course we do. Don't worry about it though. It's gonna be fine. We're just gonna wait until we replenish. The other problem is the Suppress Affliction has left me with a very bitter taste in my mouth. And I am not a fan of that. I like the sweet things. So Suppress Affliction, I am upset at it. Because in the first game... Okay, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and do that. In the first game, when I played it on Path of the Damned, I did it on streams, and I have the playlist up. So if you look to in my playlist, you'll find that if you want to see me beat the first game in Path of the Damned, killed everything, including dragons and whatnot. In the first game, oh, we lost the thing. Is that normal? Expose vulnerabilities. Yes, it is. Good job.
That dog won't hunt.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good. In that game, the one time, I think it was Charmed. I think it was specifically Charmed. See, the bad sour taste in my mouth, they are there for a reason. Let's see what do we have. Ancient tablets. Edrang Hadrit. Yeah, we need to read these. But specifically Charmed, or was it Paralyzed? It might have not been Charmed. But when I applied, I think it might have been Petrified or something. I applied Suppress Affliction, and I was going to be Petrified for 10 seconds. I really needed that character, so I went with Suppress Affliction. It was like a super tough battle. Of course it was. It was Path of the Damned, and I was using spells. So of course it was a tough battle. Otherwise you don't use spells, because you don't even bother. But I used Suppress Affliction on Petrified, and the character who was going to be Petrified for 10 seconds ended up being Petrified for 25 seconds. And of course I had to reload. And I rambled. So that's just, yeah, just how it goes. How it goes. Edrang Hadrid, in retrospect, led a remarkable life, but his contributions would... The Hadrid, this is the father of the founder of Deerwood, I think? That his contributions would probably have gone largely unnoticed if it weren't for his conflict with a Glanfathan Orlan by the name of Galvin Regd. Oh yeah, we read about Regd already. Interesting. So this was... No, this is not the father of the founder of Deerwood. This is the founder of Deerwood. Though Edrang became a great man and a well-respected leader, his early life was uneventful. He was born in Adir, of noble parents, and spent a good part of his childhood there. While he was raised apart from common folk, he felt a connection to them, and was known to always be welcoming to any and all. In school, he demonstrated incredible intelligence, frequently arriving at correct conclusions using his own methods of getting there. He was always doing unexpected things, and though he seemed to be paying attention and would pass his lessons, his teachers and trainers were certain he would never amount to anything. Which is, I like this is, it's a little bit weird to say it like this from an historical perspective, an historical record perspective, but it is a full and one whole paragraph that works well together. But you'd think, although not necessarily, obviously, you'd think that demonstrating incredible intelligence would, you would have that information, or you would specifically write that information because the teachers thought he would amount to a lot. And in fact, when I read in school he demonstrated incredible intelligence and continued reading, as I was reading the rest, I was thinking maybe he just demonstrated that he tests well, because that's usually what you demonstrate if you do well in tests in school. It depends on what kind of school you are, of course, and of course even the institution of school, as we know it in the modern day, is a completely different phenomenon to what would exist in a setting like the setting of what does exist, in fact, in a setting like Pillars of Eternity, and certainly what did exist in medieval times, where school was more of an apprenticeship for arts, and for whatever art, the mason or carpenter or painter, whatever, and you'd also have the scribes, which would be, this is of course medieval Europe. The scribes, which would be controlled by the church, and you'd learn how to read and how to write, and, well, you could learn how to read and write elsewhere as well. It was kind of a lot harder, but you could. Although in certain parts of Europe, in certain times, it was forbidden for non-clergymen to know how to read. And of course, I say clergymen and not just clergy people. The nuns did not. Wait. The nuns. No, depends on the time. I'm not sure if nuns knew how to read, but certainly women in general were, in medieval Europe, were definitely not allowed to learn how to read. And just learning how to read was a complicated thing as well, because of course people become smart if they do that, and the powers that be don't want that too much. You see, that's why they keep the monks' clothes and whatnot. Anyway, it's very complicated, but schooling, that works. His family moved to the Deerwood, which was it's a colonial nation over there, but oh no. But it was a colony at the time. As colonists, while he was still a teen, the moment they docked in the new land, Edrang knew he had found his true home. He explored the land, getting to know it and its people, as well as he knew the castle in which he lived. He grew into a man who was well respected by all who met him. He took over the earldom, which at the time was earldom, becoming a fair and much beloved leader. Under his leadership, Belrich, I don't remember Belrich, thrived, becoming more stable and prosperous than anyone thought possible. When a new grave was needed, the people's voice was unanimous. Edrang Hadrit. As his first act as the new grave, the we hear this pronounced in the first game, I forget, instructs Edrang to build a new city for him, a seat of power in the Pearlwood Gulf. This city is to be called New Dunrid. No, that's right. And then he changed the name to Defiance Bay, in the War of Defiance, which is the independence 30 years before the beginning. I think, is it 30 years or 150 years? The dates are confused in my head. It's too many numbers. But it is the War of Independence for Deerwood, and will serve as the capital for the new colonies. Not long after he assumed power, the Broken Stone War began, and this was with the Erglanfath with the neighboring. I don't know if it was a colony at the time. I never really understood it. I don't even know if it is a whole different country for sure. I think it is, and I'm pretty sure. Like it I know that the way I work is like this. I'm playing a game, and for 20 episodes or for 20 streams or whatever, I'm like, I never know if Erglanfath is a different country. And then in one episode or in one stream or in one, I get the answer, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I bumped the microphone there. And I'm like, oh, now I know. It's a different country, or it isn't, or whatever the answer is. And then I proceed to, sort of remember that hazily in my head. But then I spend so much time not knowing that my memory is that I don't know. And yeah, it's just sort of consequence of me talking about things that I know or don't know. So yeah, if you're curious about this stuff, of course you can look it up, but I do my best to make it interesting, even though I don't know some of this stuff. It's inconsequential, but it's there. It doesn't matter if it's a country or not. It's the land of the Glanfathans. Don't mess with the Glanfathans if they don't want to be messed with. Just respect independence of people instead of self-determination, please. Thanks. And if you, of course, if you're gonna be a colonial king, you're gonna be a colonial king, and that's just how it is. I don't know that. I think there are some issues with that, specifically in regards to the Broken Stone War, and apparently, as we are beginning to learn, I think, the Burnt Tree War or whatever, the war that came after that, which was apparently with Reds. I don't know who it was with, but we're gonna learn that in a little bit. Anyway, the Broken Stone War happened first, and it was a quick and brutal war and taxed the limits of Edrang's capabilities. He had never before encountered someone as organized and brutal as the opposition commander, Galvin Regd. Oh. Glanfathan Orlan. So he murdered him. He talked him into a parlay and just attacked. Tough luck. Tough luck, Edreg, or whatever your name is. Regd, that's the one. Because you're at war, all of you, and that's in our current world, there's such a thing as international war law. Is that what it is called? Anyway, that would be a crime of war for sure. Don't think for a second that I'm defending that sort of attitude in modern day. Let's see, because, well, anyway, war is shit anyway. At any point, he had never before encountered someone as organized. Yeah. At first, Regd statics confounded Edrang, but Edrang, who grew up developing unorthodox ways to take care of his problems, adapted quickly. This did not stop Galvin Regd outright, however. He began a campaign of terror which I will reserve my judgment of what that means, because even the word terrorism is a relatively new development in history. And of course, it could be that he is actually being a terrorist, but and certainly terrorists did exist as we define them today for many centuries and millennia. But it's just anyway, the word terror is used in a different context here. Maybe, let's see. He began a campaign of terror that lasted for 2 more years. Edrang, who expressed a sort of respect for Regd's prowess, studied his techniques, learning how Regd attacked and devising ways to counter it. He gave the earls and thanes instructions that confounded and sometimes infuriated them, as they seemed to leave their lands open for attack and put their people at risk. Edrang disseminated lies and half-truths about his plans, imperial events, and military maneuvers. No one knew what truly was going on except for Edrang and a very small contingent of trusted friends and advisors. His tactics worked, and Edrang's men started to catch the Glanfathans off guard. That's a costly strategy, I'm sure it was. It wasn't long before Edrang's men were able to anticipate Regd's moves and cut him off at every front. When asked how he was able to overcome an enemy that anticipated every move, Edrang responded, "That is how he was about," quote, "that is how he was about to outwit us. Period. Our moves were transparent. Anyone could see through the standard tactic." Oh, wait a minute. Right. Overcome an enemy that anticipated every move. Then he says, our moves were transparent. Anyone could see through the standard tactic. Spread something out thin enough, and you can poke a hole in it. I countered an unpredictable enemy with unpredictability. That sounds like platitudes, really. It doesn't really sound like he explained it a whole lot. Because Drang was able to counter Ragd's plans, the conflict eventually died off. Ragd sent a message to Drang, expressing respect for his tactics and prowess with military maneuvers, and they got a room together and just made out for the whole night. Anyway, this political and military stalemate led to the first treaty signed between the Glenfathans and the Aediran colonists, who would eventually become the Deerwoodans. Yeah, the Deerwood is, yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it is definitely Air Glenfathan. It is definitely a colony. It's a colonial country. It is Air Glenfathan lands, and of course it is because we have Air Glenfathan ruins and protected by Air Glenfathans all throughout the Deerwood, and the vast majority of people, if not everybody, in the Deerwood is not Glenfathan. I mean, they might be descendants of Glenfathan, some of them, and I think Heravius is definitely not one of them. But there's probably a lot of. I'm trying to think of any companion that might have been that. Maybe. Anyway, there's not a whole lot of Deerwooden companions in the first game. I think, yeah. Sorry about that break. So yeah, that's the story right there. The White Dead Wends. That one is explained in the first game. I don't know if that book is from the first game. An ancient tablet. This fragile tablet was painstakingly etched in Engwithan runes several thousand years ago. It reads, "The festival lanterns shine with a warm yellow glow tonight, bobbing on the light breeze from the sea. The young folk dance, feet stamping and smiles bright, a feverish joy alight in their eyes. The old folk drink and tell tales of years long past, their laughter loud enough to shake the very Adra beneath our feet. And the children from whom we do this, or for whom we do this, our future, they steal sweets from the banquet tables, they wrestle and tease and fight as children's ought, and my soul swells with pride. Together we celebrate the end of our work and look forward to new beginnings, a shining horizon where we Engwithans and our Juana brethren labor as one for the glory and illumination of all kith. Tonight, Poko Kohara, our masterpiece, sits resplendent, a testament to all that our culture, or cultures, have striven toward, all that we might gain. And yet, even if our calculations are sound and our construction sturdy, if the machine works as intended, it will be but one small step along the twisting road we must walk together. But if we can harness the power of souls, if we can control the cycle of life and death, the journey will be worth it, no matter how arduous or how long. I'm thinking that Pokokohara might be where they made the gods? Maybe. But now is not the moment for questions or of philosophy. Tonight we join hands and sing, and tomorrow our work of generations begins. At last it begins. So that didn't complete the armor, so we didn't get anything. 7 Years of Dawn, Book of the Hunt, that's a lot about the gods here. Excerpt from the Sermon of Struggle, that's probably from Megran. Final Jonas, that's a really creepy book. That one, Final Journal of Jonas, is upset about everything. Missives of the Hand Occult, that's specifically about Wael. And this is the Selected Correspondences of the Giftbringer Aiden, that's about Ondra, really interesting one, that one. Enigmatic God of Cold, that's Rimmergand, I think. The Many Faces of Barath, and Midwife's Memoirs, that's for Helia, I think. The Queen That Was, that's for Woodica. The jerkest of jerks. Not really. I mean, she's pretty jerky, but whatever. She's not the worst. This Twisted Skull belonged to a novice transmutation wizard who died casting her first self-authored spell. The remainder of her skeleton was deemed too disturbing to display. Right. Why would you display it? Well, I mean, I suppose, anyway. Euthasian Prayers, that's for Aothus. Galvan Regd, that's for... what's the name? I never remember. The God of the Hunt, most likely. No, this is, oh, Oh, this is the story about Galvan Regd. Mention of the name Regd in Erglan Fath, and you'll... or mention the name, and you'll be told stories of a glorious freedom fighter, an Orlan who used this tactical savvy in battle training to protect the Glanfathan from the encroaching evil of the invaders in the Deerwood. Ask someone in the Deerwood about him, and you'll hear angry retellings of the exploits of an underhanded, dirty fighting Orlan who terrorized Deerwooden citizens. This conflict is what legends are built on, and Galvan Regd is the stuff of legends. The Broken Stone War began from a misunderstanding between the Glanfathans who lived in the Deerwood and the Aediran colonists who were moving in. Tensions were already high between the two groups, as the Aedirans claimed land the Glanfathans said they already owned. Add to it the Glanfathans taken and forced into slavery by the Aedirans, and it was only a matter of time before something snapped and sent the two groups to war. There was the occasional skirmish or fight between isolated groups, but no real conflict until the Broken Stone War. Whether intentional or not, Aediran farmer... That doesn't sound like a misunderstanding at all, but anyway. Whether intentional or not, Aediran farmers clearing land for their crops knocked over and destroyed one of the ancient menhirs that dot the countryside. Oh yeah, this is specifically retold in the Book of the Broken Stone War. The Glanfathans, who revered the ancient structures in the Deerwood, reacted swiftly and violently, led by a particularly fanatical Fang. That's a Broken Stone Fang. No, that's one of the tribes by the name of Regd. While the war was short-lived and the Glanfathans were ultimately not the victors, Regd and his forces were able to eliminate a significant number of colonists. After the war ended, Regd was appointed the Galvan, or leader of the Glanfathan tribes. His leadership skills and prowess in battle earned him the respect of all the tribes of Glanfath. Because all the tribes were unified behind him, he was able to move and coordinate their warriors in a way that organized them in such an efficient team, the Aediran colonists lived in fear of his next attack. His name and reputation spread through both lands. Over 2 years following the Broken Stone War, Regd and his forces, using deception, misinformation, and straightforward guerrilla tactics, killed hundreds. The remaining earls sent, I assume, word to the Fair Konig and saying something must be done before more nobility is killed, but Regd continues to terrorize... Oh, send. Yeah, that makes sense. I suppose sent and then continued to terrorize the colonists, and it seemed the campaign would never end. That is, until he encountered Edrang Hadrit. That's the end of the Broken Stone War. Yeah, they always say that it's a fast war. And I don't know what reference they have for fast wars, but or for length of wars. Beloved Land, poem from Eric Glanfath. And Glanfathan Customs. I remember reading this already. It's an interesting one. I talk about it every once in a while, if it comes into matter. A lot of my commentary is informed by books, and that's why I say that if you're getting into this setting, in the first game specifically, not so much the second one, as I said before. The Saints War, that's important. These two are very important. You should read these because they're fun to read. They're good reads. They're well written, and they're to the point. They're not so easy to skim, and that's the thing about these books. That's something that I think is good. Sometimes books can be very lengthy, which makes them realistic. Very good, not lengthy, but sort of verbose. Even if it isn't very lengthy, it could be just 3 or 4 paragraphs and very verbose. That is very realistic because you want that in a historical record to make it, thorough. But then that means that you need to skim them if you want to just gather some quick information about what the books have. And some people are better at skimming than others. I never really mastered the training. I've never mastered the skill of skimming. It is very important for an historian to...
The trees of Glanfath possess souls as strong as any kith, and their entangled roots extend for miles.
It's him again. You have gained the Annals of Lengrath, Volume 2 of 5. Yeah, but still. Yeah, the books just don't really lend themselves to being skimmed. You can, but they're fun to read.
But dig beneath any of them. Follow those roots, and you'll see they don't end, but lead to a neighbor. They're many souls sharing one body. Why shouldn't willing kith be able to do the same?
I think this is Edgar. The trees of Erglanfath possess souls as strong as any kith, and their entangled roots extend for miles. But dig beneath any of them is just what he said. Yeah, he's definitely... Wait, that's Lengrath? Could he have been... No, it is Lengrath, I suppose. But I was gonna say, could he have been... Lengrath have been the... I can't remember the name. Edgar? Rager? Whatever. The, you know, the one, the gorilla commander. I was, you know, could he have been Lengrath? Maybe later in life? Although he died, so... Nah, I wouldn't think so. But yeah, that's just Lengrath talking. A previous incarnation, evidently. Not Lengrath, not the Lengrath that we know and love. The Blacksmith Knights, the Adir Empire, Part 1. Okay, it's all good things. The Orosian Calendar. Oh yeah, this book. I rambled about how, when I read it for the first time, or I think, I rambled about how winter, spring, summer, and autumn, and yeah, basically, I rambled about how the 4 seasons are not astrological events. And, like, for example, in a book, like, I don't know how many months, I think there's, like, I'm pretty sure there's like 14 months or something. Like there's 26 hours. I don't know. Cause look at that. Do you see how those are? Let's see. Actually, deep winter. That's 4. Yeah, you see that there's more months than there is. Because of course the moons are all janked out, and if you think of the months as sort of more or less the moon stuff, because I think that's the origin, like the historical origin. So we got 2, you got 6, 8, 10, 14. That's right. No, there's more. Yeah. But why? Oh, because it's deep winter. Right. Yeah, I remember rambling about that. Because if you're gonna make up months, you should make up seasons as well. Because the seasons are not immutable, and in fact, there's not just 4 seasons. There's parts of the world that have 4, 5, 2. Depends on where you live. You could just have the rainy season and the dry season, and that's that. Which, in fact, is probably the biggest and most important exception to the 4 seasons. Let's see. How's Doemanel? No, they all dead. On the efficacy of imps. Many pitfalls of ink husbandry. That's gotta be a fun read. Development of Crucible Knights. Yep. Learn about them. This is new, I think. The line of succession in a Huana tribe is malleable to change. One trend remains constant. Mataru warriors possessing strength, leadership, and wisdom make a natural choice for Rangas. The Kahanga diverged from this pattern centuries ago. Instead of choosing from accomplished fighters or hunters, the Kahanga looked to the most intellectual and tactical Mataru-born. Recent Kahanga generations have embraced this uncommon practice by favoring ciphers in their leadership. Some believe the development to be in reaction to the spread of foreign influence in the Deadfire, but the tradition stretches farther than most credit. Onekaza, the second latest of the cipher Rangas, seems determined to not be the last of the cipher Rangers, as she clings to the diminishing Huana sovereignty in the region. Rising where other tribes floundered, the Kahanga are praised for keen political maneuvering and endurance in the face of relentless trials. All that remains to be seen is how much one cipher can endure. I wonder who praises them for that, though. Certainly not the Raparu. Is it Raparu? I don't remember. The lower classes, the poor. The ones that are starving down in the pits, or whatever. Oh, the Gorge. What was it called? I forget the name. How could I forget the name of that area of the city of Nekataka? But anyway, that's gonna be that for today, because we're out of time for the day, and I just now noticed that I've been recording for an hour, which means I'm cutting this episode in half, and that's why there was no intro. I mean, I could make an intro, but anyway, that's gonna be that for right now. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next episode. Don't forget to leave a like, because it makes sure that the next episode comes out sooner rather than later. It's as it usually goes. Bye.